Yo, welcome back to the Four Wide Fantasy Podcast. This is Season 1, Episode 3, our fourth recording. We want to thank you for coming back to being with us. Your hosts, Matt, Shed, Olu, and Will. We love having these fantasy football talks with you guys and inviting you guys into our relationship. Guys, isn't it great to be back on? This is great. Awesome. We have another great episode for you guys today. What we're going to do first and foremost is we're going to have our Week 3 fantasy results and reactions. We're going to tell you how we did in our fantasy football leagues. After that, we have our injury roundup. Unfortunately, because this is football, there are always injuries. After that, we're going to move on to Did You See What He Did? We're going to talk about the top performers from Week 3. Following that, we're going to go to Whoa. Slow down, okay? Don't overreact about these guys. Then we're going to go into Week 4. Matchups to exploit, matchups to avoid. We got something special we're going to do today. We're going to have a little debate, okay? We're going to include you guys in a debate. And then our favorite thing to do, the single game mock draft. Hopefully last week we were able to help you out with some of the matchups to avoid. We told you, we warned you, do not play Daniel Jones. Don't play my starting quarterback. Don't do it, okay? We warned you not to play him.
We were right. We were very right.
In addition to that, we told you don't play Ramondre Stevenson, don't play Josh Jacobs, and hopefully we helped you in your fantasy football league. But guys, why don't you say something? How'd y'all do last week in fantasy?
Oh, man. We're starting off on this, huh? Terrible. I've had a historically bad start to my fantasy season. Both of my teams lost this past week. Jalen Waddle being out hurt me significantly in the one. Drake London, oh my gosh, I know we got to talk more about him later on. He is not helping me one bit. And Najee Harris, wow.
Oof.
Wow,
Oof.
I should have sold when I had the chance. Can't get anything for him now, so I'm hurting.
Sink with your ship, man.
I have to now.
Shed, Olu, how'd you guys do?
I did great. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Shed.
No, I'll just say this week was amazing. Cue my theme music.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
This week was an amazing week.
Get my theme music.
This is why you got to watch on YouTube. You never know what you're going to see.
So this week I went 3-0 in my fantasy league, still continue my dominance. So I have 3 fantasy teams, right? 3 of them. And there's been 3 weeks so far, so 9 games. Guess what my record is? My record is 8-1.
Woo!
8-1 in all 3 leagues.
That's
dominating, putting in that work, dropping L's, giving the business.
That's why you got to listen to the 4 Wide.
4 wide.
Olu, how about you, man?
Hey, so for me, I did great. I'm 3-0 right now in my fantasy league. And even though I won by substantial margin, I had A-Chan sitting in my bench with 51 points.
Oh, my gosh.
Just a little spoiler, we're going to talk a lot about Devin A-Chain today.
Yeah. My roster is stacked, guys. I have the great Tank Dell with 22 points. I have McCaffrey, DeAndre Swift, Robinson, DeAndre Swift, and then what else? It's Amari St. Brown. So yeah, my roster is looking great, guys.
Dude,
and then I have Jonathan Taylor on my bench waiting until he gets reinstated.
If you have Tank Dell and Devin A-Chain on the same roster, I don't think your players are tall enough to ride the roller coaster.
You need Deuce Vaughn. You just complete the trifecta with Deuce Vaughn.
But go ahead and call Ray Rice and Darren Sproles, and then you got yourself a great squad right there.
But guess what? They're fast enough to be on the Olympic team.
That's true.
Yes, they are.
And I did fairly decent. I think I went 2-2 in my leagues, but yet again, I was one of the higher scorers in all my leagues, but 2-2. But hey, if my team is scoring well, one thing about fantasy, if your team is scoring high but still losing, chances are, or what I'll say is that doesn't mean you don't have a good team. That just means you have bad luck. So when I score high but still lose, I'm okay with that because by the end of the season, I think I'll be where I want to be. All you got to do is make playoffs.
Yeah, it tends to balance out over 14 weeks. You'll be fine.
Which actually, you know what? For a second, let's talk about this. So if you're listening, the four of us are all in the same Dynasty League. And we've been in this Dynasty League. This Dynasty League started in 2018. But this is the first year we voted on playing against not only having head-to-head matchups, but also playing against the median. So whatever the average was of points scored. So ultimately, you can win and lose in the same week, or you can go 2-0 in a week, or 0-2 in a week. What have you guys thought about that? And this could be new for some listeners. It was new to me. This is the first time I'd ever heard of it this year. I love it because I'm doing great in that league. But what do you guys think? Shed.
So initially, at first, when it was proposed to our league, I was very against the median because, you like things the way it is. You're used to it. But it's actually kind of interesting, right? Because it gives somebody like your team, Matt, even though you're losing, but you're scoring points, it gives your team a chance to move forward. So it's warming up to me right now. I was against it at first, but I think overall for the league, it kind of helps you to balance your team. If you have a really good team, you can prove it by beating the median.
I love how he said, even though you're losing, Matt. Well, for the record, actually, through 3 weeks, I'm 5-1 in that league playing against the median. So I'm scoring high. And the one loss I had was I still beat the median. But Will, what do you think about it, man?
I hate the median scoring system from the depths of my soul. Thanks to this terrible system, I am 1-5 in our shared league. I would have been 1-2, which is fine. 1-2, you can climb out. 1-5 after 3 weeks of play. No, thank you. I will be the first to propose we revoke this change in the offseason. Golly.
Playing against the median is like, if your team is good, not only do you like the league, but you love the league. Your team is bad.
You could be 6-0 now.
Right, now you hate it. But anyways, let's move on, guys. Let's talk about the injury roundup. Will, take us through some week 3 injuries, bro. What's new?
Okay, fortunately, after a disastrous week 2, we only have 2 new long-term injuries after week 3's game. So the first one, the biggest one, is Mike Williams, torn ACL, out for the season. So for the Chargers offense, this is mostly going to affect Josh Palmer more than anyone else. Keenan Allen is the top of the pecking order. Austin Eckler's coming back from the ankle sooner rather than later, it sounds like. Justin Herbert's going to be just fine. So what we think is Josh Palmer is the guy to target. He's going to be ahead of Quentin Johnston. Quentin Johnston has had opportunities through 3 weeks, has not done anything with them. The trust is going to be there with Palmer ahead of Johnston. The other one is Derek Carr. He's got the shoulder, neck. It looks like a sprained AC joint is what they diagnosed. He's probably week to week. As far as the Saints skill players with Jameis at quarterback, they shouldn't be affected that much. If Jameis can hold on to the ball, that's the biggest thing, and just keep them driving down the field. But you should see Olave, Michael Thomas still startable in your lineup. Kamara's coming back now. He's going to be RB1 with Jamal Williams still recovering. So Saints skill players should be just fine, even while Derek Carr is out. And that is our injury roundup for week 2. Any thoughts on that, guys?
I love the Josh Palmer stock up, especially more so than Quentin Johnston. I've said it before.
Yeah, you're low on QJ. You're very low on him.
I think I've said it before on this podcast. I think he's going to be a bust. He doesn't catch with his hands, man.
As bad of a bust as Kelvin Benjamin.
Oh, Kelvin Benjamin, that dude, he
had one good year. Year.
Yeah, he wasn't a total bust. I mean, he had a.
Remember the famous quote? He's one Popeye biscuit away from being retired.
That's what it is. What's that? That was Booger McFarland. He said he's one Popeye's biscuit away from looking like me or something like that.
That was mean. It was one Popeye biscuit away from being retired.
Hey, but those Popeye's biscuits are good, though.
But you know what's funny about that statement? Something else that was funny about that statement? He came back a couple of years later to try as a tight end.
He did.
And then,
I know.
Oh, no.
New York Football Giants. He didn't even make it. He didn't even
didn't make it as a tight end.
No, but Jameis, if Jameis is to be the New Orleans starter, which he ought to be, I mean, that's the same guy who threw for 30 touchdowns and 30 picks along with like 5,000 yards. Yeah. He's the first ESPN 30 for 30.
5,000 yards.
Yeah. I mean, that could be something.
True.
And also, you have to remember, he was playing in the Bruce Arians offense. Everybody throws a large amount of INT in Bruce Arians offense.
Nah, but good stuff, guys. Let's move forward. Let's go to Did You See What He Did? We're going to talk about top
That.
performers from week 3. Shed, why don't you start us off, man? This is going to be exciting.
Okay. Let's talk about the obvious, what we saw happen here, what everybody is talking about. Honestly, I could have picked one of 4, I feel like 5 players from this team, the Miami Dolphins, but I'm going to go with Devin Achane. Achane capped a 4-touchdown day with a 67 scoring run in the fourth quarter, and the man finished with 22 touches, 233 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 10.6 yards per touch. Wow,
Gosh.
that's amazing. The man had 57 fantasy points, leading the entire league in scoring. In just his second career game, he's had the most impressive performance to memory. He's actually ranked 6th in PPR points by a rookie ever, and the most by a rookie in their first 3 games. He's on this historic number binge, right? And he's one of fewer than 40 players in NFL history to average more than 10 yards per touch in a game where he saw at least 20 touches. And yes, I understand this was a historic game and his output won't happen again. But then again, I mean, if you give me half this man's stats, that's still 27 points, which I'll gladly take week in and week out. Devin Achane, man, this man is amazing.
Yeah. That was historic. And trust me,
Incredible.
listeners, there's going to be a lot more coming your way about that Miami Denver game.
Yes.
Yeah. How about who's next? Olu.
Okay.
Did you see what he did?
I'm gonna flip mine because I had one thing, but then I felt compelled to change it. So did you see what it did? I'm gonna go with my man Tank Dell. My man Tank Dell.
Olu is going to ride this train. He's going to drive this train actually all season.
Remember, guys, I told you guys about Tank Dell. I think it was week 1 episode. Was it week 1 episode?
Probably.
I told you, look out for Tank Dell. You want him on your roster. I told you. And I hope you guys listen to me, okay? So Tank Dell, first of all, he's 5'7", 5'8", and his nickname is Tank. That should tell you something already. Okay? If you're 5'7", 5'8", and your nickname is Tank, that tells you all you need to know. This man had 145 yards just off of 5 receptions. Each one going for the average of about 70-something receptions. He averaged 29 receptions per catch and 1 touchdown. So his quarterback CJ had about over 200 yards. 145 of those came from Tank Dell, and 57 of those yards came from yards after the catch. So he had a phenomenal, amazing game. He is now wide receiver 5, a rookie in his 3rd week. He's wide receiver 5, guys. Okay, so Tank is gonna be his name is gonna be up there in contention for Rookie of the Year. I said that before, and I will repeat that again. Tank Dell is the man.
Quick trivia. Does anyone know Tank Dell's first name?
Yes, we do.
Nathaniel
Dell.
I just looked him up. I didn't know this. He's a 23-year-old rookie.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. He's old.
He's been in college for 5 years. Went to community college before going to Houston. Yep.
Wow.
Golly.
And did you know when CJ Strauss got drafted, he texted him, congratulated him, and said, "Yo, bro, can you tell them to get me?" And CJ Strauss told the GM, "I need you to get this man." And that was
true story.
He was right.
He
was right.
Listeners, just know there'll be a lot more Tank Dell coming your way from Olu. All right. Will, did you see what he did? Who's your guy?
Did you see what Keenan Allen did this past
Lord
Sunday?
Of mercy.
Winning against the Vikings. This man had 18 receptions for 215 yards. He also threw a touchdown pass, a 49-yard touchdown pass. And my prediction is with Mike Williams out and Palmer and Quentin Johnson trying to fill that void, we're going to see a lot more double-digit reception games from Keenan Allen. He's going to be a top 3 wide receiver at the end of this season. He will be within the top 3 total points at the receiver position. That's my prediction. And I think what we saw Sunday was just a start.
Yeah, I had him in 2 leagues. I was loving it. So he had 8. Check this out. Hey, let me see if you guys know this one. He had 18 catches. He had 20 targets, which is insane. The most receptions by an NFL player in history is 21 receptions in a single game. Do you guys know who got that? 21. I'll give you a hint. It was in 2009.
Oh,
who had
gosh.
21 receptions.
Is that Terrell Owens?
That's what I was going to guess.
No.
Oh, no. Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald.
No.
Steve Smith Sr.?
You guys want a hint? I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
I'll give you a hint.
Go for it.
He has played, well, if I tell you his career path, it'll probably give it away. But I'll tell you this. He started out with the Broncos.
Oh.
From there.
Marshall.
Yeah, it's Brandon Marshall. I was going to say, from there.
21 receptions.
He had 21 receptions in a single game.
That was on the Bears or on the Jets?
I think that was when he was with the Broncos. 2009.
No,
I think he was still with the Broncos.
Really? Okay. Yeah, because I remember
he went from the Broncos to the Dolphins to the Bears to the Jets
and then the Giants
and then the Seahawks.
So you want to get a funny story about that? So he broke the record, and they asked for his jersey to put in the Hall of Fame, but he said the jersey never made it there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he was so mad about it.
But Keenan Allen tied for 3rd most receptions in a single game. That's crazy. Wow. That's crazy. But moving on, my did you see what he did? I want to talk about Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker is the man. Like, so many people moved him down their rankings at the beginning of the year because of Zach Charbonnet. I'm a big Zach Charbonnet fan. I like Zach Charbonnet. And honestly, I was one of those people who thought that Kenneth Walker wouldn't eat. But when you're talented, you're going to eat.
Yeah.
Okay? When you're hungry, you're going to eat. Give me that Popeye's biscuit. Give me a drumstick. Kenneth Walker did damage. The man can ball, okay? Let me tell you something. Kenneth Walker, 18 carries, 97 yards, 5.4 yard average. That's sick. Another 3 catches for another 59 yards. The guy is feasting. They have shown that they're going to commit to running him. They're going to continue to use him. Kenneth Walker, and if you watched him play, I mean, the dude was cutting. He was running. He was bouncing off tacklers. He was running down the field. Kenneth Walker looks like a legitimate, top 10 running back this season. I think we're going to be talking more about Kenneth Walker. If he can stay healthy this season, I like Kenneth Walker right now.
Watching Kenneth Walker run is the craziest experience as a viewer, as a watcher, because he does not look like he's fast, right? It's like this, it almost looked like he has a limp, this herky-jerky style, but it works. It just works. It's like this off pace, like when you see a basketball player drive. That's what it makes me think of. And it's like off pace, like James Harden has that, Luka, we're crossing sports on this analogy. That's what I think of when Kenneth Walker runs. It doesn't look like this smooth stride, but it works. The man gets it done. He flat out produces. He produces. That's what he does.
Yeah. Shed, what do you think, man?
So what's interesting about that Kenneth Walker and really that entire draft class, I did some scouting and recruiting on that class. That class was the lowest ranked running back class that had come out in a few years. So Breece Hall wasn't supposed to do what he was supposed to do. Kenneth Walker wasn't supposed to do what he was supposed to do. So it just shows that scouting you don't have it 100%, right? I mean, a lot of people say this is bad or that's bad, but until you get to the NFL, put in the right system, which I think was perfect for Kenneth Walker. Pete Carroll, he likes to run and play defense, really helped boost his stock. So he wasn't supposed to be this good, right? But he was put in a great system with a great coach that really believes in him. And to your point, Matt, like Charbonnet, yeah, I definitely had Walker down because of Charbonnet. Charbonnet was supposed to be like stealing reps, stealing carries from him. But Kenneth Walker has just performed very well, and Charbonnet hasn't been doing too well even when he's gotten opportunities.
I think the presence of Charbonnet helps Kenneth Walker
Yeah,
because it
it
allows
inspires
him to get
me.
time
Yeah.
off the field.
It's
Like
true.
so many times in fantasy, we see people like not want to have a running back who is kind of like in a 1A, 1B role. But the reality is being able to come off the field helps in so many ways. Like think about how Nick Chubb was still able to produce at a top 5 fantasy while with the presence of
Right.
Kareem
Kareem
Hunt.
Hunt. Yeah.
You know, you can think of so many scenarios. I can think about when Atlanta used to have, oh gosh, who did they have? They had those 2 running backs.
Oh,
Who
Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman?
in Tevin Coleman. That's it. Devontae
Oh,
Freeman and
yeah.
Tevin Coleman.
Freeman still
Or,
dominated.
or, or
He
think
had that
about, or
one
think
year.
about, think
Yeah.
about with Carolina when they had D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart, and each of those guys had over like 1,000
New
yards. Like,
Orleans with Kamara and Mark Ingram. There was a
it,
while
it
they were
can
both
work.
valuable.
New
It
England with
can
Michael
work.
Blunt and
Yeah.
Lewis.
Well, what's that?
That's
I think New
true.
England with Michael Blunt and Lewis, Deion Lewis, and
Yeah.
James Lewis.
Yes.
Yeah.
They had
Let's
one
move
good
on.
year.
Let's move on. Matchups to no, we're gonna go. Whoa, slow down. We got to make sure we warn people not to overreact over certain people who might have done well or didn't do bad, but don't overreact over their performance. Shed, start us off.
So you may be thinking, man, Kenny Pickett had a great game this past week. Man, I'm going to put Kenny Pickett in.
Pick him up.
He's my guy. Look at here. Kenny Pickett, he gave you 20 fantasy points, which is good, albeit against the Las Vegas defense that I'm not too solid on. But I'm not sold on Kenny Pickett being that guy. He just not yet. The man has played in 16 total games, right? And of those 16 total games, 2, he scored 20 or more points. Let me say that again. 16 total games, only 2 he scored 20 or more points. And both of his first 2 games this year, he scored a measly 11 points. The offense is the middle of the pack in passing yards, 26 in total yards, 23rd in points per game. And keep in mind, right, in the Raiders game this past week in the first quarter, it was tied 7-7. Marcus Peters of the Raiders dropped a gift-wrapped interception that would have went for a pick six that would have changed the momentum of the game, right? So imagine he picks that off, Kenny Pickett's stock goes down, and we're not talking about this. This offense is not gelling, guys. Pickett has still much to be desired for, so I pump my brakes on Pickett. We still have more to wait to see what's happening with him.
Kenny Pickett. Will, you want to weigh in on that?
I just want to tell our listeners that what you are going to get from us week in and week out, beyond the numbers, is specific plays that you've got to pay attention to, especially from Shed and Olu. These guys watch the tape. They know. So we're giving you data that you're not going to get from anywhere else. That is so valuable. Yeah, if that had been a pick six, no one's looking at Kenny Pickett this week. So
No,
that's where you got to look a little bit beyond the numbers.
exactly.
Yeah, that's great. No, that's great. Olu, do you have somebody you want to warn our listeners not to overreact about?
Yeah, I would go with Drake London. And the funny thing is, I
Oh,
actually
that's my guy.
I like Drake London. I think he's a great player. He has good height, good catch, good body control. I
He
love the
really
way he
does.
catches the ball, like the way he turns in the air, catches the ball, good ball skills. But the problem is he's not in the best system for his skill set. He's in a very run heavy offense. Arthur Smith is the coach. He's known to run the ball. They have Robinson. They have our Jared,
Bijan,
and
yeah.
you have a quarterback. Huh? What'd you say?
Yeah, Bijan Robinson.
Bijan Robinson. Yeah, Bijan Robinson. And they have a quarterback who's, he's a good guy too, a great leader, but he's not the most proficient passer. He's also comfortable in running the ball. So I just feel like that's not a good system for him. And week in, week out, you're going to see it where he's not producing like he should, a player of his
Yeah.
caliber. So I would say, you slow down on him. Maybe next year, if they get a better quarterback, then things might look different. But for this year, I would want you to slow down on Drake London.
I have to agree.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. Let's move on. Good stuff, Olu.
I'm just gonna
Will.
I'm about to tell you my guy, but let me just slip this in real quick on Drake London because in redraft, if you have Drake London, I'm so sorry. It's probably gonna be a lost year. In Dynasty, hold him. His value's never gonna be lower than it is now. I have secretly hoped that they just put Taylor Heineke in because Taylor
Behind the
Heineke,
dip.
he produced with Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin had some great
He
seasons
did.
with
He did.
Heineke. Part of me is hoping just go to Heineke and draft your quarterback next year. Anyways,
But Atlanta's winning though. They're 2-1.
I know,
run
but
the
I don't
ball.
think they're gonna keep it up. I don't think they're gonna keep winning with Ritter. I really don't. I know he won in college. I think if people just take away the run game, he's not gonna do
I
anything for you.
remember Arthur Smith was the offensive coordinator when Tennessee Titans was dominant in the run game.
Yes,
Like
I
they ran the
remember
ball.
it. I remember with nostalgia. It's getting me through the start of this year as a Titans fan. The memories of Arthur Smith.
So he's a run specialist for sure.
Yeah. My guy, real quick. All right, I'm going to say, whoa, slow down on Zach Moss. I know he had 2 back-to-back great weeks, and
Boy, did
I
he.
even had him in my lineup in one of my leagues last week. He produced, but he has put up all this production without Anthony Richardson. It's been with Gardner Minshew. Richardson's going to come back and take away a lot of those carries. They're going to have design runs, read options. He's going to be running. There's going to be less available carries for the running backs in general. And there's also the fact that Zach Moss has 1 week left before Jonathan Taylor presumably returns. Even with the contract situation, Taylor's going to play. I have no doubt about that. So between Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson taking away a lot of those carries, slow down on Zach Moss. It was a great 2-week run for him. I'm happy for the guy. You're not going to see that again.
Yeah. It was great while it lasted. Time to get off the train.
Goodbye, Zach Moss.
Oh man.
What if Moss says no Moss? I'm keeping this.
This is our bilingual
Yeah.
segment.
Olu, I wish I could have seen the look on your face when that idea popped in your head. You probably thought like this is gonna be
It's
great.
in that notebook. It's in that notebook he just flashed.
This one's gonna break the internet. It's gonna go viral.
This tells them my football plays nowadays.
You know, I'm gonna warn our listeners. And I know we just hyped up Devin A. Chain because what he did was amazing.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say pump the brakes. Slow down on Devin A. Chain. Okay, and this is why. I think we all want to like Devin A. Chain, and we all want to like him for the same reason. Because the man is tiny. Okay? I just want to remind everyone, the guy is 5'9", 188 pounds.
Yeah, that's
That is
small.
the size of the accountant at your corporate office. Devin A. Chain is 5'9",
Oh my gosh.
188 pounds. The dude is tiny. Okay, and here's I want to let our listeners know something. Okay, here's a little tidbit. Go to playerprofiler.com. Go to playerprofiler.com, and you can look up like the measurables of all these guys. And one thing I like to look up when it comes to running backs is not just their height and their weight, but also their BMI. Why? Because that's going to speak to the man's durability, okay? A good running back will weigh at least 215 pounds and usually no more than about 230 pounds, but their BMI, you want it to be around 29.5. His is 27.8. The guy is tiny. Rarely do we see a running back that size have an every down role, let alone play 16 games in a season.
True.
Rarely. Now, you might say, oh, Matt, well, what about Warwick Dunn? Or what about this guy? Okay, there are very few of those guys. Okay? Now, there's guys who have been tiny, who have been small, who have been exciting, like Darren Sproles, but you're not starting Darren Sproles on a week-to-week basis. Now, and what Devin A. Chain did was historic. But we will never see a running back average 11.3 yards a carry. Like, it's just not sustainable over the course of a season. If I have Devin A. Chain on my team, well, if people had him, they're probably mad. Oh, I should have started Devin A. Chain. Nobody started Devin A. Chain. Matter of fact, if you have him, sell high. Slow down. I say sell high. That's my take on Devin A. Chain.
I
Slow
might take
down. Do you
it
guys
back.
want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, here's my rebuttal. I love A-Chain so much. So I think we said this on our first episode. I live in Texas, and I've gone to some Texas A&M games. I saw him play live each of the last 2 years at A&M. The man is electric. He's got Olympic track speed. I do think that in that system, what Mike McDaniel has built, he's going to find ways to get this man the ball in space. A-Chain is never going to be a traditional running back, right? Warwick Dunn was rare because he would run between the tackles. He ran like a traditional running back at that size. A-Chain's never going to do that, but I think they're going to find ways to give him the ball and just putting up 70 points. I mean, we know now the Broncos defense is bad. I don't think we thought that they were 70 points bad, okay? Because they have some players. They have some decent players. Justin Simmons, Patrick Surtain. I mean, it's not an abysmal group. I think in that offense, A-Chain's going to have a successful career as long as he's with the Dolphins and Mike McDaniel's the coach. I do agree that you're not going to expect consistent production. I think that Tyreek Hill is going to be the most consistent producer on that offense as far as skill players, and they're going to spread the ball around. But I think A-Chain can have a successful career there because of the way they run that offense.
And let's not forget that Raheem Mostert is like he's like what, a top 3 fantasy running back right now.
Yeah, but he's made out of glass. He is made out of glass.
This is true. And let's not also forget Jeff Wilson's coming back in week 5. Let's not also forget that Jalen Waddle didn't play, and so he'll be back in the lineup. So
it's true.
Devin A-Chain's opportunities, I don't think his opportunities are going to continue to grow. Shed, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, so I was going to say exactly the same thing Will said, right? In McDaniel's offense, that's a perfect landing spot for a guy like that. You do make a great point. I mean, he's not a traditional running back because traditionally he can't run between the tackles like that. But just as you were speaking, you made some great points, as in Waddle wasn't there, right? And then Jeff Wilson, like I actually, in our Dynasty draft, I was going to take him, but I was very hesitant because he had 2 solid running backs ahead of him taking up opportunity. So now, but McDaniels has seen him produce. He is going to get his touches and he is going to produce. I don't know if he'll produce at that rate anymore, but to your point, I think Mostert will take your first down, heavy duty running. He may be in there for a second and a third down. His opportunities will drop, but to your point, Will, I do agree that McDaniel's offense is perfect for someone like that.
So we know that he's never again going to have 230 yards and 4 touchdowns. Never again for the rest of his career, right? That's a once-in-a-lifetime performance. But is he a guy that could get you 12, 14 points in PPR? I don't think it's out of the question. I think it's within the realm of possibility. They don't have a tight end. They don't have a tight end, and they only have 2 viable receivers. So he might operate more like a slot guy. But we've given A-Chain so much love. That's the most.
We still have a lot more Miami Dolphins stuff to get to, but let's look ahead to week 4. Let's talk about week 4 matchups to exploit. You want to make sure you get this guy in your lineup. Shed, start us off, man.
I'm excited for this one.
So I know we were talking about the Broncos defense. I'm going to reference them here, but Jacoby Myers versus the Chargers defense. The Chargers defense is second worst in the NFL, only behind the record-setting Broncos defense last week. In total yards allowed, Chargers defense the Chargers defense is only 23 yards in pass yard defense behind the Broncos. Keep in mind, the Broncos gave up that many pass yards. The Chargers are only 23 yards behind them. And also, plus, this week the Broncos are playing the Bears, Justin Fields and the Bears, so there won't be a lot of passing yards probably in that game. My point is by the end of this week, the Chargers are going to have the worst defense just based upon what's happened so far. Jacoby Myers, he's back from injuries. He's looking to get a lot more open looks because all the coverage and the coverage will be rolling over to Devontae Adams. Last year on a bad New England team, bad New England offense, he ended up the season with, in his last 3 games, averaging 20 points in those last 3 games. So if there's one game where you're considering starting this man, it should be this game here. He's going against a horrific defense, plenty of one-on-one coverages where he'll see plenty of opportunities. Now, caveat, I will say he's still going to produce, but if Garoppolo is not there, I mean, he'll still produce, but he won't have as much numbers. So that's a caveat as well. But assuming everything is status quo and good to go, I definitely see this man having a lot of opportunities and producing this week.
Jacoby Myers. Interesting.
I have been a fan of him because he's been on my dynasty team for the last 3 or 4 years. So I've been a fan.
You know, Jacoby Myers is good when Belichick gets rid of him because that's what he does. Gets rid of players.
A shot at Belichick.
There's another. All right, let's matchups to exploit. Olu, who is your guy?
Okay. I'm actually very excited for this one. Okay, Marvin Mims Jr. from the Broncos. So the Broncos, right? They were embarrassed. Okay, Sean Payton, the coach, he's a wounded, hungry old lion. He's mad. He's furious, and he's about to take it out on the Bears defense.
Oh.
The Bears defense. Yeah, the Bears defense is they're ranked 26th in passing defense. Okay, so now you have Marvin Mims Jr., whose average yards per reception is 27.9 yards per reception. He leads the league in this category, and every time he's targeted, the passer rating for the passer is 155.8 passing rated, and he's caught 78% of his targets. So I'm looking to him being unleashed on Sunday. I'm looking forward to it. And we know Ross throws the most beautiful deep ball in the league. You know, it's like a rainbow arc. Remember when God told Noah to build an ark?
Oh, wow.
Well, the rainbow came out. He got Russell throw that rainbow.
What's the name of this podcast? The 4 Wide. Hey, y'all say it with me. That was a
That's a wide take.
Yeah, it's wide. But
Oh my gosh.
That's what the Bears defense is gonna face. The rainbow pass up in the sky. And we see
Olu loves to dig deep for his takes.
You say what?
I said how you love to dig deep for your takes.
Oh, yeah,
no, but Marvin Mims, that's not bad, especially with Zach Charbonnet fumbling the ball twice for Denver.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing gets you in the doghouse quicker.
The run game is not been going.
Hold on. Who fumbled twice on Denver?
Did I say who did I say?
Who was it? You said Zach Charbonnet.
My bad. Cortland Sutton.
Sutton, two fumbles. Golly. Okay.
Yeah, he had two fumbles.
I'm looking forward to Marvin Mims being unleashed after the embarrassment on Sunday. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Olu is starting Marvin Mims. Let the record show that.
No,
Will, who's your guy?
All right, here's my guy. So Olu talked about Sean Payton wants to redeem himself. In a similar vein, I'm going to talk about a guy. This is his revenge game. This is his prove himself game. I love Calvin Ridley this week against his former team, the Atlanta Falcons, all the way across the pond in London. The London games are weird. Teams have to travel. There's jet lag. You're playing on a different field. And I think that oftentimes caters to offenses being able to explode. Defense does not play discipline. They're not focused. I think Calvin Ridley's going to go off. He wants to prove himself to his former team. The London games are always weird. I think the Lawrence to Ridley connection is going to be hot on Sunday.
Love it. Revenge games are always they're always something special. Yeah.
Tell me, Olu. Tell me what. You look doubtful.
Okay,
YouTube viewers see it in his eyes.
One, you guys know how I feel about Trevor Lawrence. He's not it. That's number one. Number two, Calvin Ridley is missing something. There's he's broken.
He's missing the motivation against his former team.
But I'm going to be surprised. I'm going to be surprised for sure. Okay.
Things that people that Olu loves to bash: Bill Belichick, Trevor Lawrence, Saquon Barkley.
Oh yeah,
and Jackson Smith and Jigba.
No, I don't love to bash him.
I'm gonna go for my matchup to exploit, guys. I think it's time that we all finally acknowledge that Kirk Cousins,
Captain Kirk,
is that Captain Kirk is a top 10 fantasy quarterback. Listen, let me tell you something. Who is leading the NFL in passing yards right now? Kirk Cousins. Who is leading the NFL in passing touchdowns right now? Kirk Cousins. Who is the quarterback one in fantasy football? Kirk Cousins. You like that? You like that? Let me tell you something. Captain Kirk. Listen, there is probably only one or two guys right now, who I'm starting over Kirk Cousins. And those guys' names are Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. That's about it. I'm starting Kirk Cousins over all these other guys right now. Why? Because he's hot. And guess what? Minnesota still can't run the ball.
No, they cannot.
They brought in Cam Akers.
Doesn't change a thing.
That doesn't solve anything. Right. Bringing in Cam Akers to help your run game is like hiring a musician to be a mechanic. It's not going to work. And so the Minnesota Vikings are going to continue to throw the ball. Get Kirk Cousins in your lineup. He's playing against Carolina. They're not going to win. And Minnesota can only win by passing the ball. Get him in your lineup. That's my take.
Okay, I can rock with that. I like that.
Better in fantasy than in reality, but that's the world we're living in.
You caught that,
100% truth. All right, matchups to avoid. We give you this segment because sometimes you're on the fence. Do I start this guy or do I start that guy? Is this running back 2 better than that running back 2? Or what about receivers? Maybe you're in a 2-receiver league or a 3-receiver league. Maybe you have a flex and you're on the fence about 2 different people. Don't play this guy this week. Shed, go for it.
Okay, this is a perfect segue, whether to start this person or not. Actually, it's going to be the Bills defense. Yes, it's the Bills defense. Yes, they are a top 3 defense, but they're playing Miami this week. They're top half in the Russian defense and overall number 2 defense in yards allowed so far. However, here's a caveat. Here are the teams they've played so far this year. The Jets with Zach Wilson at the helm, the worst total offense in the league. The Vegas Raiders, 24th total offense in the league. The Commanders, 23rd total offense in the league. They've beaten up on the bottom of the NFL team, and they really haven't played a good quarterback. The Dolphins are a different beast. They're first overall in pass yards, first overall in total offense, first overall in rush yards. They can drop 40 on you and not even blink an eye. This is the same Bills defense that lost to the Jets in week 1. Now, I'm not saying this defense is not good. I'm saying if there's a week to rest them and wait and see for the following week, this is the week to do that. I would use this week as a rest week. Find a different defense, put them in because the Bills defense is just not going to produce this week.
I think you can safely say for the rest of the season, if your defense is playing the Dolphins, get another defense that week. You do not want that.
No, but that's actually a really great take, though, because I played the Bills defense in a league last week, and they got me 32 points.
Gosh.
Right.
When a defense gets you 30 points, you're thinking, oh, this is matchup proof. But then they go against the team that scored 70 points the week before. Right. Get him out of your lineup. Olu.
Okay. So matchup to
Enlighten
avoid.
The listeners.
Matchup to avoid just for this one game. Okay. Matchup to avoid is Mike Evans. I love Mike Evans.
Tell us why.
Easily a Hall of Famer, one of the best receivers in the league. Super underrated, amazing receiver. He's on pace for about 1,400 yards or 1,400 yards, and he has scored 2 touchdowns in the last 3. 3 touchdowns in the last 3 games. He's an amazing player. However, when it comes to the Saints, he does not do well. Whenever he's matched up across from Marshawn Lattimore, he has a bad matchup against Marshawn Lattimore. So much that he's actually at a risk of getting kicked out of the game. He got kicked out of the game last year because the matchup gets contentious. They usually end up in a fight. They always end up in a fight. And that gets into his head, affects his play. So he typically doesn't fare well with Marshawn Lattimore. And on top of that, you have the quarterback, Baker Mayfield, going against the Saints D-line. They are going to destroy him and eat him for dinner. Cam Jordan is probably licking his chops right now. So that's going to be a really bad matchup. And I would I would caution you guys to avoid that matchup.
No, that's actually really good. Him and Lattimore, yeah, they be fighting, man.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
do.
I definitely will agree with you, Olu, because even against Brady, right when the Bucks had Brady, he wasn't producing. Now you
Right.
have
Not against the
Baker
Saints.
Mayfield. Yeah, now you have Baker Mayfield, right? So yeah, so I have Mike Evans on my team, and I'm very hesitant, but I know how it goes game in and game out. I have to listen to my head versus my heart. My heart says start the man. He's Mike Evans, but Olu made a great point. I'm gonna have to rethink this moving forward.
Yeah, Lattimore is his kryptonite.
Yeah, and that's my guy. I love Mike Evans. He's the most. He's like his top 5 receiver, easy.
Will, let's keep it moving.
All
Matchup to
right.
avoid.
Oh, this one hurts me to say. I love this guy for so many reasons, not least of which is he attended The Ohio State University. That's my college squad. But you want to sit Garrett Wilson this week. So they're going up against the Chiefs. The Chiefs have a very underrated and exceptional defense. Chris Jones, George Karlaftis on the defensive line, they're going to make life miserable for Zach Wilson. Their one goal is going to be disrupt Zach Wilson, throw him off. And what we've seen the last 2 weeks is Zach Wilson can't get it done. As good as Garrett Wilson is, someone has to be able to throw the ball to him. I don't see it happening this week against the Chiefs. If you have other receivers, put them in over Garrett just for this matchup.
One thing.
Go for it, Olu.
Sacked himself.
I saw that. Oh my gosh. He spun to the ground without being touched.
Yeah,
Awful.
like,
Awful.
How do you sack your own self?
He embraced his inner Mark Sanchez. And
Yes.
I think almost any D-line makes life miserable for Zach Wilson.
So,
yeah. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say certain teams just have these ghosts, right? Like Jets quarterbacks. After the butt fumble, they have never recovered. And then you had Gardner Minshew on the Colts run out of the back of the end zone. Dan Orlovsky, what team was he on when he did that? The Colts, replacing Peyton Manning. So it's the ghost of Dan Orlovsky for the Colts, the ghost of Mark Sanchez on the Jets. It's a curse.
The weirdest play I ever saw in football, actually, the butt fumble was hilarious. But do you guys remember that play where the Colts tried to do they went from a punt formation to
the single offensive lineman? Yes.
An offensive lineman
what in
with
the
world? Punter taking the snap under center. If you don't know what we're talking about, YouTube it.
Yes,
just
look
YouTube it.
Colts fake punt fail. You'll see it.
My matchup to avoid, I'm just going to keep it plain and simple. I'm just going to keep it simple so we can move on. Joe Mixon versus the Tennessee Titans.
Mm-hmm.
The Tennessee Titans, they're not much to look at offense, but that run defense is serious.
It is.
And if you haven't been watching football lately, the Bengals look bad. Like, they just don't look good. Their offense is not good. Something is terribly wrong with the Bengals. Joe Mixon against that rush defense, I don't want any part of that. I'm passing on it. Avoid Joe Mixon against the Tennessee Titans defense. You guys have anything you want to say about it?
That's a good call. Get him.
I agree.
Get him out of the lineup.
So this is going to be a fun one for you guys to listen to us debate just for a second. So as you know, last week, in week 3 of the NFL season, Miami scored a historic 70 points. I believe that was the most points scored since the 1960s. In addition to that, they had an NFL record 726 offensive yards. That's going up and down the field like 7 times. That's a lot. This is the first team to record 700 yards since 1951. Okay. Tua passed for they passed for 376 yards and 5 touchdowns. They rushed for 350 yards. That's 8.1 a carry and 5 touchdowns. They were cooking. Everybody. In week 1, they scored 36. In week 2, they scored 24. In week 3, they scored 70 points. This is an offense, some would say, we've never seen anything like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some historic offenses just for a minute or two. Who do you guys think was the best offense to ever play? Or who would you argue or debate is a better offense than this one? Or could Miami hang with these guys? Will, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm going to jump in on this one because I loved and hated watching this offense because they beat my Tennessee Titans in the Super Bowl when
By this much.
Kevin Dyson extended and was short by 1 yard.
Yeah.
It is the 1999 Rams, the greatest show on turf. They're my pick for the best offense of all time because we had simply never seen anything like that before, and no other offenses were even coming close to putting up those numbers. Kurt Warner passed for over 4,000 yards that season at a time when 3,000 passing yards in a season for a quarterback was an amazing feat. Marshall Faulk, 2,400 total yards rushing and receiving, 12 touchdowns. And then, of course, you had Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt playing receiver. They were unstoppable. They outscored their opponents by over 250 points during the 99 season. I love them and I hate them, but they're my favorite offense of all time.
And you know what I love about that offense is because unlike some of the other offenses we might talk about, they actually won the Super Bowl.
They did.
Like, that's what's crazy about it.
They got it done.
Marshall Faulk, like, I don't want to say he redefined the running back position because he didn't redefine it, but he was one of the first, like, incredible pass catching running backs.
Right. No one had ever done that.
And please get Torrey Holt in the Hall of Fame already.
I know.
It's way overdue. Anyone else? Who's one of your best offenses? Go for it, Shed.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with my home team, my Minnesota Vikings, the '98 Minnesota Vikings. That's the team that had Moss as a rookie, Randall Cunningham, Chris Carter, Jake Reed, Robert Smith. They were first in passing. They were first overall offense. They set an NFL record of 556 total yards at the time, and it's still number 6 overall, even after 25 total years. Carter had already been one of the best wide receivers in the league. He had over 1,100 yards receiving in '98, and that was the year where he had 6 straight seasons where he topped 1,000 yards. And like I talked about Randy Moss, right? He was a rookie. He caught 17 touchdowns, 1,300 yards, and a career best 19 yards per reception. 19
That's
yards.
insane.
I mean, they were just chucking it deep. He was just getting everything that goes up there. And the thing about it is that teams couldn't cheat because you had Robert Smith, who was 1,000-yard rusher. So they couldn't cheat. So they had to kind of pick their poison. And also, caveat, side note, offense, but this also adds to it too. Gary Anderson. Gary Anderson had a perfect season. Remember that year, right? He was the best kicker, nailing 35 straight.
He was the single bar face mask, right?
Yeah, man.
Yes.
Oh my
yes.
That's a full wide.
So then he added to their points whenever they couldn't. He added to their points whenever they couldn't get in the end zone, right? So like that added to it too. So that '98 team was just amazing. It was spectacular. Moss was the man that year.
How do you go from Randy Moss to Gary Anderson?
Also contributing to the '98 Vikings.
Remember when in episode 1 when Shed was like, "Oh, and Brandon Whedon," like,
oh yes.
No, I love it though. That Vikings team was legit though. It was legit. Olu, we know who you want to talk about.
Come on, guys. Come on. This isn't a debate. All right. So we're gonna start with the 2007 Patriots, the 16-0 team. So I'm gonna start off with
18-1.
The offensive line had 3 Pro Bowlers and 3 All-Pro team on that offense. 3. Okay. So then we had, oh Lord,
18-1, not 16-0.
Okay, that's Matt. That's very distracted. Can you take that off, please? No, I'm kidding. Okay, then we have Brady, Random Moss, and Wes Walker. They both broke multiple records for that year. Brady broke the most touchdown in the year at that time. Randy has broken the most receiving touchdown, which still stands today.
23.
Okay? 23. Randy Moss had almost 1,500 yards. Wes Walker had almost 1,200 yards. And guess what, guys? They went 16-0. That hasn't been replicated to date. 16-0. They went 16-0. They are the perfect season. And what top it all off is they win for style points. Yes, it's good for your offense to be effective. You throw the ball, you catch, run. They were chucking that ball downfield. Moss is double covered, like signal the mailbox hand, catches the ball with one hand. It was beautiful.
It was.
It was
Yeah.
It was artistic. It was a
Everybody
spiritual
liked
experience.
it. Was. It
yeah,
was an out of body
it was
experience.
out of
No,
body. It was
I
they
would
were in the
argue.
yeah, as the young kids would say, they were in the bag.
Yeah.
They were in the
That's how you.
bag
That's how
that
you show
year.
your age when you say
Yeah,
the young
young
kids.
kid.
Yeah, I know, I know, right?
You
They
know,
were
I'll
in
be
the
honest.
back cooking up.
I
They
would
were
argue
cooking
with
it up.
anybody. I would argue with anybody that Randy Moss is the best receiver of all time. And I know people want to say, no, it's Jerry Rice. It's Jerry Rice. And I respect that. I do respect that. Randy Moss Jerry Rice played his entire career with Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Randy Moss did not. And what did he do the first year he played with a Hall of Fame quarterback? He smashed all the records. He got
Yeah,
23 touchdowns in a single
yeah.
season. The greatest basketball players of all time, they're trademarked for their name. Michael Jordan, people go, Jordan, Kobe. Well, what happens when someone catches a ball over someone's head? What do they say? You got what? You got
Mossed.
mossed. Randy Moss, like what he did at 6'4", the vertical, the speed, the hands, the guy.
I will say
People
this.
say, oh, but he didn't try in Oakland. Oakland was terrible. Look what he did in Miami. Look what he did with New England. The guy was incredible. Incredible. If you would have given him the quarterbacks that Jerry Rice had, Lord have mercy.
I will
Lord have
will
mercy.
say this. He's absolutely the best talent for sure. But talent is not everything. Jerry Rice outworked him for sure. We all know that.
It's
That's
true.
a fact.
Yes.
He
He outworked him.
It was it was readily available for up to 20 years with the same level of excellence. So Jerry Rice's excellence over a long period of time. Moss
Yeah.
is Moss. Yes, he's talented. But at the end of the day, this is what we talk about. Work trumps talent. So I got to give him that.
I would love to go in on that. But I'm going to give my offense. And honestly, this is an offense I loved watching. I really did. I enjoyed every second of this. I had many shares of this back in 2013, and that was the Denver Broncos, led by Peyton Manning. And this offense, it topped the 07 Patriots by scoring 606 total yards and 7,317 yards in a single season. This offense scored 37.9 points per game. That is unreal. Okay, Peyton Manning had 5,500 yards and 55 touchdowns. 5,500 yards and 55 touchdowns.
Gosh.
No, Sean Moreno had 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. He went to the University of Georgia, the most illustrious university in the country. Demaryius Thomas, rest in peace, 1,400 yards and 14 touchdowns. Eric Decker, 1,300 yards and 11 touchdowns. Wes Welker, 800 yards, 11 touchdowns. Julius Thomas, 800 yards, 13 touchdowns.
He got a nice contract out of that year.
And not to mention, No Sean Moreno also had another 600 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. I mean, guys, listen. They had, 3 receivers get over 10 touchdowns, a tight end get over 10 touchdowns, and a running back get over 10 touchdowns. You are lucky to have one skill player get more than 10 touchdowns.
Very true.
The Denver Broncos had 1, 2, 3, 5. That is ridiculous. That offense was insane. Not to mention Monty Ball also had 600 yards. So, I mean, that offense was just nasty. Olu, you want to say anything about it?
Yes, I have a lot to say. All right. You can't be the best offense in history if you lost 3 games. So the first thing, to be the best offense, you have to be so overwhelming. Not even a single defense could hold you. Okay. Not only were they held in check in 3 games, now they went to the Super Bowl. Does anybody remember the scores?
It was awful. It was an
bad.
awful Super Bowl.
It was 43-8. You can't be the best offense if a defense that's nicknamed the Legion of Boom shuts you all the way down. You can only let off 8 points while the opponent is scoring 43 points. So it sounds to me their opponent is the best offense that year. That's what it says to me. So you
Listen,
cannot be the best in
listen.
history.
My take is for offensive production. They scored 37.9 a game. That's all I'm saying.
But you
Okay?
get
For
win,
fantasy purposes, look, for
winning,
fantasy purposes,
winning,
and they won
winning
me
is
my
all part
$20
of it.
buy-in league. Okay? That's all I cared about.
I just can't get over 43-8. That just like we cannot put you as the best offense. You always score 8 points when it matters, and you have 3 losses. Come on, dude. Like no.
18-1. All right, let's move on. So, anyways, last segment we have for you guys today is our favorite, the single game mock draft. What we're going to do is we're going to do a 2-round snake draft from the upcoming Thursday night game. This week's game is the Detroit Lions at the Green Bay Packers. The way we do it is you can't draft quarterbacks. We're going to draft in a snake order. Last week, and just to update you on the scores, we're going to keep a tally of scores throughout the season, and we're going to see which one of the 4-wide fantasy footballers is the best fantasy football player. Last week, Shed scored 26.8 points. Olu scored 28 points. Will scored 25.1. And yours truly scored 5. That's it. But it's not my fault.
Historically bad mock
It's not my
draft
fault. Listen,
week.
let me tell you, the New York Football Giants, listen,
Oh,
I knew they were going to
terrible.
lose. I knew they were going to lose. I knew they had no chance at winning. But sometimes that's good for fantasy because a negative game script means they're going to throw the ball at the end of the game and you get garbage yards and garbage touchdowns. They were so bad, they didn't even get that, for crying out loud. And it wasn't my fault that I ended up with 2 Giants on my team. It's just the way the draft fell. Darren Waller, you let me down. Isaiah Hodgins, you didn't do anything. Thanks a lot, guys. Now I got 5 measly points. So on the season, Will is winning with 56.4 points. Olu is in second with 52. Shed is in third with 51.7. And thanks to last week, I'm in last with 45.8. So let's start off our single game mock draft. Will, you're on the clock first with pick number 1.
Yeah, easiest choice ever. Detroit at Green Bay, the one skill player who is guaranteed to always produce and exceed expectations even. Give me the sun god, Amon-Ra St. Brown, first overall pick.
Easy.
This gets tricky, Matt. This one's tricky for you.
You would think it's tricky, but it's not. It's not. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy, probably the highest he's ever been drafted at any point in his life.
Okay.
I'm going to take a rookie tight end at pick number 2 and take Sam Laporta, the tight end from the Detroit Lions. I think he's off to a great start. I love the Detroit passing offense. Yeah, historic. I love the Detroit passing offense. Sam Laporta, pick 102. Let's go. Shed, your pick, man.
While Shed thinks, I'll just tell our listeners he's the first rookie tight end ever to have at least 5 receptions in each of his first 3 games. That's pretty impressive.
And just so you know, listeners, we rotate who drafts first each time we do this draft. So, Shed, pick number 3.
All right, so you pick Laporta. I thought you were going to make it hard for me, which you did make it hard for me. So I'm going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs. Give me Jahmyr Gibbs.
Wow.
Give me the point.
Wow, you guys made this easy for me.
Who's it going to be? Tell us your easy choice.
Oh, you get 2 picks in a row, man.
I know. Wow.
Yes, you're on the turn.
Right. This is so cool. I'm going with Aaron Jones and Christian Watson.
Is Aaron Jones even playing?
Aaron Jones will play. Christian Watson is probably out because he.
No, he's playing.
No, Watson has not been medically cleared, and it's games in 2 days. You can pick him. I'm happy for you to pick him.
Olu's eyes got real big.
I'm happy for you to pick him, but you're going to get a nice 0 from Watson this week.
4 hours ago, ESPN, Packers optimistic Aaron Jones and Christian Watson to play Thursday.
Go ahead and take that.
Put him in, Olu. I'm happy.
Oh, yeah, I am.
Okay.
Lock him in.
I got it down here on the list. Christian Watson as the 5th pick. It's back to Shed.
Shed, back to you, man.
So it's interesting. I didn't think I was going to get this guy. This was going to be maybe my other pick. But let me go with Romeo Doubs. I'm going to draft Romeo Doubs.
Even if Watson plays, you still like Doubs, huh?
I still like Doubs. I still think that he's going to produce. He has a good chemistry with Jordan Love. I think Christian Watson, he may be, his first game back, so you're not sure really what he's going to do. But I think Dobbs and Love connection is great, and I can see him putting up numbers.
All right. Oh, this is Matt. I was about to pick my guy. Oh, man, I hope my guy's still there. What's
So
it going to
this is
be?
about to be mad funny because, and I think this is why I'm in last in our league right now. And I think I'm going to go ahead and take another rookie tight end in Luke Musgrave.
That's who I wanted.
I love it. I got 2 rookie tight ends in our 4-wide fantasy football podcast draft. I don't know if that's a good thing.
All right. Here's what I'm going to do. Obviously, as the last pick, Mr. Irrelevant, you're always looking for upside, and this carries a little bit of risk. What I'm going to do is
Marvin Jones.
No, I'm going to bank on a couple big plays from the Detroit offense to my man, former Tennessee Titan, Khalif Raymond. Give me Khalif Raymond as Mr. Irrelevant.
Boom or bust.
So wait a second. Nobody took A.J. Dillon?
No way. Look, I have A.J. Dillon in Dynasty. He's been the only running back the last 2 games without Aaron Jones. And what has he done? Disappointed me severely. Nothing. I'm staying away from him.
Cue the A.J. Dillon having a Devin A-Chain type of game.
Oh, my gosh.
So just a little recap. Will is sitting there with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Khalil Raymond. And
Khalif.
Khalif
Raymond. I miswrote that.
My fault.
Yeah.
I thought it was Khalif, but I see in the notes it says Khalil. That's why it took me so long to get it out of my mouth. Okay. And then I have Sam Laporta and Luke Musgrave, the rookie tight ends from both teams. Shed is sitting with Jahmyr Gibbs and Romeo Doubs. And Olu, who likes to always say, I already won, is sitting with Aaron Jones and Christian Watson.
Pulled hamstring, Christian Watson.
So Olu, you're taking
pulled hamstring.
Right, exactly. So Olu's taking 2 guys come back from injury. That's kind of risky.
Yeah, I mean, it's boom or bust. Like, it could be risky and it could be, the best thing ever.
You might just end up with only 5 points in the week. But anyways, that is your episode for the week, the 4-Wide Fantasy Podcast. We thank you for stopping in with us again. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. We love that you're a part of our 4-Wide family, and we hope you have an awesome day. This is signing off, Matt, Shed, Olu, and Will.